So in the wake of everything that's just happened with the whole sleep token, doxing, leaking of information, conspiracy, what I would like to call it, I want to take a second to talk about how fans can often overstep boundaries. But surprisingly, I want to also include how bands can overstep boundaries with their fans and abuse their trust, because while there are a lot of fans that take things too far out there in the music industry, and not just the music industry, fans of celebrities, sports teams, stuff like that, there are often artists and bands that kind of cross some lines too. And today I really want to talk about that. But before we really dive in, I just want to kind of wrap up this sleep token thing, because since I've released my video, I've talked to a lot of people and more information has come online. It does seem like closer to what I was saying, where it was just a crazy overblown fan theory that just spread like wildfire. But there have been some things that have been reported on. I know Sleep Talkin', which is like the sleep token based podcast and stuff, was talking about it. There's been other YouTubers that have talked about it. Also, I will say, I spoke to a friend of mine that I've known for years that happens to tour with Sleep Token. I did promise them that I will not repeat anything they said based on anonymity, and I respect that. So I'm not going to bring up anything that was said to me, but it did give me some clarity on the situation, and it makes some of the things I've seen make more sense. So I will tell you what we do know from seeing things on the internet. The rumor went around that Sleep Token had their birth certificates and their home addresses doxed publicly to the internet, more specifically their bass player 3. What it really sounds like happened is that there is a private Telegram group with just a handful of Sleep Token fans. Fan is a weird word because these people seem psychotic, to be honest. The whole basis of this Telegram group was basically for people to find out more information about the band. They were so into finding out personal stuff about who they are and their old bands and pictures of them without masks. Stans. Elanuvian said stans. Sure, let's go with that. Now, a lot of it in the Telegram group seemed innocent at first. People just wanted to know what their names were. They wanted to see pictures of them with no masks. But there were one or two people, including the administrator of the Telegram channel, that took things way too far. Like stalker status. Tried to hire people to follow them around, to keep tabs on them, to hack their stuff to find information. And what happened was that this person eventually said she got a bunch of details, and she had birth certificates, and she had home addresses. She even had like photos, very risque photos that I don't really want to talk about. But from what I've been told, and when I say what I've been told, again, this is talking to other YouTubers and people that were on this Telegram group, is that she never posted these things. She never posted these birth certificates. She never posted the addresses or anything like that. She just said she had them and threatened to post them, which I will say is a very big deal. The fact that there are people out there that are so mentally disconnected that they even think about doing something like that is a big deal and should be taken seriously. My whole issue with the thing was the media reported that birth certificates and addresses were leaked publicly, but they weren't. This started as the fans on that Telegram group talking about how this person was threatening to do it. Then it made it to Reddit. Then people were talking about it there. It's like that old game of telephone that they make you play in elementary school to show you how information spreads. You whisper something into somebody's ear, then they whisper it to another person, then they whisper it to another person, and the story completely changes. That is what happened here. So while these people do exist, and while there is a person that threatened to leak this crazy information, this crazy private information, it seems like it did not happen. But in the day and age we're in with rumors and stuff like that, it spread that it did happen, even though, like I said, there was no proof of that happening online. Some fans still claim that it did happen. They were just very diligent about deleting it and making sure nobody saw it. I kind of don't believe that, just because of the fact that, again, it's the internet. Like, that's a huge story if it were to happen, and somebody would have had a screenshot and put that somewhere. And all that to say, I think it was a crazy coincidental timing thing. The band wiping their Instagram seems like a marketing thing. If I had to guess, I would say they're about to announce a US tour, because Ticketmaster messed up last night. Ticketmaster accidentally revealed that they have another US show last night and had like tickets weren't available, but it said tickets will be available. Like, I think it was January 24th, but that is now gone. So I think this Sleep Token thing, there's a shred of truth to it. but it's mostly marketing from the band and coincidental timing that all of this stuff happened. So all that being said, what I want to talk about is how fans can get delusional and cross lines, because one of the big things to talk about is that while there are artists and celebrities and musicians and stuff that are in the limelight and people make their own personal connections with them, parasocial relationships more specifically, these are human beings that have their own lives. They don't owe you anything, and they're not your friends. I mean, I know that sounds harsh to some people that love their bands, but I mean, that is the truth of the matter. Same thing goes for content creators and stuff, man. I've made some great friendships with some of you guys, but it does not necessarily mean that you are entitled to my friendship or my information of my personal life, or to know my wife or my kid or anything like that. And these lines do get crossed, unfortunately, and it makes entire fan bases look bad when it happens. But what I do want to say is that this is not exclusive to the internet age that we're in. A lot of people are talking about how the internet has made people crazy, which I do think social media has kind of rewired the brains of our society a little bit, for sure. But stuff like this has been happening for years and years and years. There are tons of stories from like the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, pre-internet, of how people have crossed lines and become delusional to think that they are closer to these artists than they are. As it was just said in chat, stalkers have already existed, and there's a good story that I've heard firsthand that I want to tell. About 11, 12 years ago, I toured with Pat Benatar for a good few years, and I got close with her and her husband. Her husband, Neil Giraldo, is her longtime guitar player. And I asked them one day, just out of curiosity, I'm like, back in the heyday of the 80s, I was like, did you guys have any just like pre-internet, did you guys have any crazy things that happened? And they told me a story, and I'm going to try and recount this the best that I can with specifics, but the basis of the story is the same. They told me that back in the 80s, their management was alerted by a family member of a person who seemed to come up with a parasocial relationship with Pat, and was convinced that they were supposed to be with Pat. They were convinced that they were Pat's real husband and that Neil Giraldo was an imposter. This is some crazy mental shit. This person lived in like Georgia or Florida, somewhere in the Southeast. Pat and Neil were living in California. They were told that this person left their home and was traveling across the US to get to Pat and Neil's house. They had to alert the FBI. The FBI had to get involved, and like they were on high alert for a long time. Finally, the FBI found this person because they were able to track them down. I think they used a credit card somewhere or something like that. But those are the kind of scary situations that big celebrities and artists and bands have been getting into for years. Pre-internet. So this mentality of crossing boundaries and having these parasocial relationships and stuff like that has existed for a very long time. The internet has just amplified everything, and the internet has made everything instantly available. That's the thing. Chris just said, can you imagine the Beatles or Elvis if they had internet? It would be insane, dude. It would be insane. So that's the point I'm trying to make, is that this insanity has always existed. The internet is just amplifying it. The other thing I wanted to bring up is things that fans do for bands that they think is nice that is still kind of weird, and why bands don't trust a lot of fans. I see a lot of the times when I work for bands, especially at meet and greets and stuff like that, there are fans that they like to bring presents to the bands. Now, if it's a material object or something like that, that's one thing. But a lot of people like to bring food that they have cooked at home. I will tell you right now, in 100% honesty, while a lot of you probably think that is a sweet gesture and probably have the most innocent intent with it, you're just trying to be nice, 99 out of 100 bands are not touching that food because they don't know what's in it. They don't know who made it. They don't trust the person that brought it to them. Now, if it's something that's prepackaged, like I'll bring up a good example, like Hero, member of our community, it's on our Discord, fantastic person. Hero brought us a ton of like chocolates to one of the shows at on the Electric Callboy tour in the US, and that was great. They were prepackaged, so we knew nothing was weird, and everybody loved them. That was cool. But when you're bringing baked goods or home cooked meals and stuff, it can get a little sketchy. Bands don't trust what's in it. And I do have a story for this that I will preface this right now. This is a disgusting story. If anybody is kind of squeamish, maybe skip this part. When I was touring in the Christian music market years and years and years ago, I was not working for this band, but we were on tour with them. There was a band that said in their big heyday in the 90s, the reason that they don't trust people bringing them food is because there was an incident occurred where a fan came to a meet and greet and brought them some kind of baked good. I can't remember if it was a cake or muffins or cupcakes or something like that, but it seemed very innocent. And she kept pushing for one of the guys to like try it, like on the spot, like try it. Like I made this for you guys, like try it, like while they're in the meet and greet line. So one of the band members tried it, and immediately after he tried it, she got like, they said her like face changed and like she got all like crazy eyed and like she's like, oh, I'm so happy. She goes, now we're going to be connected for the rest of our lives. And they were like, what? It turns out that this woman had put some of her in the baking solution when she made this stuff. That is a true story that I heard from this band. I could not believe it until I was told by multiple people that were on that tour, their management and everything. Stories like that right there are why bands will not eat the food that you bring them to shows. Again, I know that it seems like a nice gesture, but the truth of the matter is these bands don't know you. These bands don't trust you. And there have been many reasons over the history of bands touring and celebrities doing things for very good reason to not trust fans with stuff like that. Andrew Techie just said, how sure are we that the fan was telling the truth and not just talking shit? That is a good point to bring up. That is a fair point to bring up. And yeah, I guess that could be the case. But really think about it. What kind of normal person is even going to make that up? What kind of normal person is going to tell them that? A fan of a band tell them something so vile like that, even if it's not true. So whether that is a truth or a lie, that is the story that I was told. And that is why a lot of bands, situations similar to that is why a lot of bands don't trust fans bringing them food from home. So with those two examples, I just want to show how there are weird things that have made a lot of distrust, even pre-internet and pre-social media like today. But the last thing I do want to bring up is that while there are a lot of bands that don't trust their fans, there have been some bands out there that have abused the trust of their fans, which is why I am skeptical sometimes in this day and age when I read stories that seem crazy. I'd like to recount months ago when Avenged Sevenfold was getting ready to release their album. They supposedly got hacked by somebody who posted something on their Spotify about them canceling shows, but it was M. Shadows' voice. The band claimed that it was a deep fake using his voice, that they got hacked, that this person was trying to mess with their careers. And immediately, every music tabloid and outlet and content creator was talking about it like, oh my God. Now, I will say, probably not everybody believed it, but a good amount of people did. And me, being the skeptic that I am, was like, there's no way, dude. You know why it doesn't make sense? Because if somebody's gonna hack a band, why go through the trouble of deep faking something to announce that they're not playing at a festival? That doesn't make sense. That's not going to do anything. The band is still going to show up at that festival and play even if that happened. So I quietly just said on the internet, like, I don't believe the story. I think this is them doing marketing. Sure enough, album comes out, little time goes by, and they came out and said, ha, we tricked you guys. This was all marketing and we faked it. And it was really M. Shadows' voice and we said it was deep faked. And there were some fans that were pissed, rightfully so. Like, why would you do this to us? About 10 years ago, there was another situation with the metal band Upon a Burning Body. They were about to put a new album out and they announced that their singer, Danny, had been kidnapped. They had filed a missing persons report, which threw their fans and their family members and friends in Texas into a panic, where people were like literally looking for, making missing persons posters and calling the police station and stuff like that. And then their album comes out. Danny is just magically back and they didn't address it. They didn't address anything about it at first. Finally, there was an interview where he talked about it, where he kind of just blew the whole thing off. He didn't think it was a big deal. He was just like, yeah, dude, it was just marketing. Like, everybody took it so seriously, but it was just the theme of our record and it was just marketing. And then to push things even further, he joked saying that he goes, you know, just to mess with people, I'm just going to come on stage at our shows after the album drops with ropes tied around my wrists just to be funny. That is a huge abuse of trust with your fans. On top of that, the legality of it, I don't know if like they could have gotten into legal trouble from that. But those are the kinds of things that make me skeptical when I hear certain stories about bands, because there have been bands that have done some pretty horrible things just for the sake of marketing for their albums or tours or something like that. All that to say, I'm not saying Sleep Token started this doxing thing at all. We were talking about Sleep Token earlier. I think that's just coincidence. But there have been plenty of times in the past where bands have done things like this. It's turned into a big deal, and then it comes out that it's not true. So to kind of give my final thoughts on what we're talking about today, I just want to impress the idea of sometimes being skeptical when you see things, when there's any question to it. We do live in a day and age right now with the internet where drama makes it to the internet immediately. If there's any kind of story, people are going to do a story on it. I'm guilty of it too. I've done videos on my YouTube when there's drama in the music industry, but I try and make sure that what I'm talking about is accurate. And unfortunately, there are a lot of things that get reported on as fact when there is no factual evidence for it. And there definitely have been bands that have taken advantage of these situations with marketing and stuff like that in the past. So again, as I said in a previous video, don't believe everything you see if it doesn't make sense. Use your brain, question things. And sure enough, at some point, the answers will come out. Going back to the fans crossing lines point, I think a lot of people really need to step back and remember that these bands and these celebrities that you really enjoy at the end of the day are also just people. They are fellow human beings that are living lives, that have family and loved ones, sometimes children. They don't owe you anything. Just because you buy their music and enjoy their performances and stuff like that doesn't mean that you are entitled to every aspect of their life. And I know we've talked about like the mental condition of some people. So there might be some people that just will never get it. There might be some crazy psychosocial people out there, not a Slipknot reference, that just don't understand. And that is a big issue. That is a weird mental issue that I think, I don't know if it needs to be looked at or what, or maybe that person doesn't really have anything else in their lives so that they've made that the most important thing in their lives. I don't know. I don't have the answers. It's hard to judge that because, you know, even as a fan of bands, there are times where I think what some people think is overboard isn't. And what I mean by that, I've gone to plenty of concerts in my life where I've like teared up when a band has gone on stage, and I see other people in the crowd do that too. And it could be anything. It may not even be that they're in the presence of the band. It may be the atmosphere of the show. It may be it's the first time seeing the band and they can't believe it. It could be that specific song that just triggers an emotional reaction. That kind of stuff happens. I mean, the first time I saw Electric Callboy play, working for them, I had an emotional moment too, because I couldn't believe where my life had taken me from reacting to them on YouTube to then tour managing their tour. I'm getting emotional thinking about it right now because that was such a big memory for me. So that kind of stuff happens. And I think that's okay and acceptable. You can share your emotions with other people. But when you take those emotions to a whole different level where you feel you are entitled to the lives of that person, that is when huge boundaries are crossed that really shouldn't be. And I wish more people would understand this because I've seen it a lot in the music industry and a lot of bad things can happen about it. But unfortunately, I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where everybody understands that. I think the vast majority of people will. I think the vast majority of people are normal people. I really do. But there is that small group of fandoms that get out of hand and it makes everybody else look bad. Nelly just said Sleep Token just announced a North American tour right now while we're filming. Hold on, I have to verify.
A few moments later.
They absolutely did. Holy shit. Guys, I don't want to be that guy that's when I'm right has to say I'm right, but come the f on, dude. I also would like to bring up that Orbit Culture just announced they signed to Century Media last night. And what did I say like a month ago? So there you have it. That's just a bonus to this video while we're filming because we had just brought it up. But anyways, guys, I know this was a more serious talk than we normally have for content on my channel. And I appreciate all of you guys in Twitch being here for this. To anybody on YouTube that is watching later, thank you for watching. And if you'd like to join us on Twitch for conversations that we have live in the moment, you can go to twitch.tv/TankTheTech. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. That schedule might change when I go back out on tour, but I will try to be on as much as possible. Yes, as Fret Slammer said, Poopoo Peepee. I'm also on a ton of different social media. @TankTheTech is pretty much my handle on everything. But until next time, Twitch chat, thank you so much for being here and always being just awesome and cool, calm, and collected and not getting out of hand. To everybody on YouTube, thank you. Wherever you are in the world, be safe, be kind to each other. I love you all, and I will see you all very soon.